In a mining region, deep in the golden mountains that at dawn seemed to ignite with celestial fire, and at dusk were dressed in copper tones, there lived a humble man named Omar. His skin, marked by sun and wind, and his hands hardened by soil and water, told the story of years of struggle searching for gold. He was not a rich man, nor the owner of lands, nor the possessor of luxuries. He was simply an artisanal miner. Living with him was his wife, Suri, a strong and loving woman, and their two small children, who were the light of his days. Their home was a mud hut with a straw roof, located in the poorest neighborhood of the town. Life there was harsh. Cracked walls let the cold seep in, the dirt floor was their only carpet, and the pantry was almost always empty. Yet despite the hardships, that humble home was full of love. What made Omar different was not his worn-out tools, or the pan inherited from his father. What truly set him apart was his unshakable faith in God. That faith was stronger than misery, more solid than the stones he struck each day, and brighter than the gold he chased in the rivers. Every morning, when the sun barely crept over the mountains, Omar knelt in the yard of his home. He closed his eyes, raised his hands to heaven, and with a voice full of hope prayed, "Beloved Father, thank you for the air I breathe, for the bread that still reaches our table, even if it is scarce, and for the life of my wife Suri and my children. You know that my hands are tired from working in the rivers, but you also know that my hope never fades. Give me strength not to give up, faith to believe when my eyes cannot see, and patience to wait for your time." After that prayer, his face glowed with serenity. It didn't matter if the day before he had found just a gram of gold or nothing at all. He rose convinced that each prayer was a seed sown in heaven. His dream was clear, one day, to find a great nugget of gold. Not to boast or to fill his pockets with vanity, but to give his wife and children a dignified future. To establish a fair and honest business where small miners like him could sell without being cheated, and to fulfill what he always promised in his prayers. To set aside 10% of any blessing to help the poor. On the other side of town lived Damien, a wealthy gold trader. He had land, riches, and fame. His house was large, his clothes elegant, his horses fine. But in his heart there was no humility. His business thrived not only because of the gold that miners brought, but also through the traps he set for the needy. He manipulated scales, deducted grams shamelessly, and treated artisanal miners with disdain. Omar suffered his humiliations more than anyone. When he arrived with his tiny handful of gold dust, Damien greeted him with mockery. "Omar, you will never rise out of misery. You were born to bring me crumbs of gold, not to dream of riches. Do you really think God will put a nugget in your calloused hands? Miracles are not for men like you." His words were daggers and his laughter chains. But Omar did not answer with anger. He bowed his head for a moment, took a deep breath, and then lifted it again with a faint smile that unsettled everyone. "You may not believe it, Damien, but I know that with God nothing is impossible. And if he decides, the blessing I have awaited will shine in my hands." The rich man's laughter echoed through the plaza, and people looked at Omar as if he were naive. But in Omar's heart, every mockery was a reminder that true faith shines brightest in the midst of disbelief. Times grew even harder. The rivers that once gave him small flakes of gold now yielded only golden dust. At home, the table was reduced to white rice and sweet water. His children ate in silence, and Suri tried to smile, though her eyes spoke of exhaustion. That sight wounded Omar more than any stone from the mine. One night, after a fruitless day of work, he knelt in his room. With tears falling onto the dirt floor, he prayed with a broken voice. "Lord, tonight I do not pray for myself. I pray for my children, for my wife. Do not let them go to bed hungry. Give me strength, even if my hands bleed in the hard earth. If it is your will, bless me with that nugget I have so long dreamed of. But if tomorrow I must face another empty day, let my mouth still confess, you are my God, and in you I will wait. The intensity of his prayer seemed to shake the walls. That same night, God chose to answer. In a strange dream, Omar saw himself by the river, exhausted and sad. Suddenly, from the mist appeared a man dressed in simple clothes, but so clean and radiant that he seemed not of this world. His warm voice wrapped around Omar. "Good man, your desires will be fulfilled, not by chance or luck, but by your faith. Tomorrow you will go to the town square, where the pigeons gather. You will feed them, close your eyes, and say, 'Thank you, God, for everything.' Then you will entrust your petition to those birds as messengers of heaven." Omar stared in wonder. "And how will this happen?" The man smiled and replied, "Today you do not understand, but one day you will." He extended his hand, touched Omar's shoulder, and instantly everything vanished in a brilliant light. When Omar awoke, he told Suri what had happened. She looked at him in surprise, remained silent for a few moments, then answered, "It is mysterious, but perhaps it is a sign from God." At dawn, Omar obeyed. He bought grain and went to the square. Dozens of pigeons swarmed around him. With his heart pounding, he closed his eyes, lifted his face to heaven, and with firm voice said, "Thank you, God, for everything. Lord, take my cry. May these birds carry my voice where I cannot reach." The pigeons, as if they had heard him, flapped their wings powerfully, filling the air with a mighty sound. Omar felt an indescribable peace. The next day, on his way to the river, he met an old man with weary steps who asked him for food and water. Omar only had rice and water, but he shared it without hesitation. The old man, surprised, said, "Others passed before you and gave me nothing. You are a generous man." Then he added, "In the stream where you work there is a rock unlike the rest. Beneath it you will find something special." When Omar turned, the old man was gone. Astonished, he continued to the stream. After great effort, he managed to move a huge rock, and beneath it gleamed a gigantic nugget, so large it took both hands to hold. He fell to his knees, tears streaming, and exclaimed, "Thank you, God, for your promises are true." He carefully placed the nugget in a sack and ran home. Suri met him with disbelief. Together they gazed at the shining stone and wept in each other's arms. Days later, Omar traveled to a larger town and sold the nugget. With the proceeds, he set aside 10% for the poor, and with the rest opened a gold trading business. But unlike Damien, he never tampered with scales or cheated anyone. He paid a fair price and treated every miner with dignity. His reputation as an honest man grew. Miners no longer went to Damien, they preferred Omar. The rich man's business began to crumble. Consumed by envy, one day he went to Omar and asked, "What changed in your life?" Omar looked at him calmly and answered, "Do you remember when you told me I would never achieve anything? I never stopped praying, and God listened. One day he placed in my hands a massive nugget. It was not luck, but faith, hard work, and gratitude." Damien fell silent, ashamed. He realized that true wealth did not lie in coins, but in the faith he himself had never known. With time, Omar gave his family a dignified life. His children studied, his home was filled with peace, and in every gain he always set aside a portion for the needy. The town remembered him not for the size of the nugget he found, but for the nobility of his heart and his unshakable trust in God. Thus, that humble miner became a symbol of faith and perseverance, proving that what gold cannot buy, faith can surely achieve.